Well, who would have known that the new Toy Story movie would be great? Wait, wrong sequel. There we go. Toy Story 5. Once a meme, now a reality. And Pixar has proven one more time that they know how to keep Toy Story at the peak of animation and, of course, absolute bank.
Money, money, money.
As a longtime Toy Story fan, I'm happy that we can brag about how great the fifth movie is, since some franchises fumble at the fourth one. And I can admit that Toy Story 4 is not perfect, from the way they treated Buzz to the one too many plot conveniences, but it's still solid. So after hearing time and time again how sequels ruined the industry and how we'll be stuck with Toy Story till the end of time, it made me wonder, why are audiences against Disney and Pixar sequels online, yet they still make their casual $1 billion? So today, I'll share my answers and give you my personal thoughts on Toy Story 5. But first, a pop quiz. Who here watched Elio in theaters? I'm kidding. Mostly. Nothing against Elio, but it does serve as an example on how having a trailer say from the creators of Toy Story and Inside Out isn't enough to actually get people to pay now very expensive tickets for a movie they might not even like. And even Disney knew this during the pandemic when Pixar's movies were tossed to Disney Plus, and right around the time Pixar had promised to do original movies. And Pixar has even been public about it, saying that they need to make sequels to fund original movies. So for every Hoppers or Gato to exist, they need an Inside Out 2, or in today's case, a Toy Story 5. But knowing this before going into Toy Story 5 made me realize how the fifth movie was made more for necessity, and even knowing that, the movie was still great. So I'll start with what I liked and some things I wasn't 100% on board with. First off, I like the new characters. Even if Smarty Pants might be Tumblr's next victim, the introduction of tech toys is basically short-lived toys who don't get a chance to watch their kids grow up in comparison to the timeless toys like our protagonists. Since tech becomes obsolete almost immediately, especially something like a potty trainer that has, a very short shelf life. So I like how we don't go straight into an evil smartphone, but instead we get Smarty Pants, Snappy the digital camera, and Atlas the GPS, who are very likable and add more to the world of Toy Story since they're still technically toys, while also being devices, just like how Leapfrog made devices for kids back in the 2000s, while now toddlers are literally handed an iPad. I'm also glad they didn't do a hate speech over tech is bad for just existing. It would have been ironic since computers are used to make the animation, and how instead of saying that all kids should drop their devices and play with rocks or something, the story is more about human connections in a time where doing everything online is easier but way less impactful than real friendships. Also, I noticed how they emphasized a lot on Bonnie's loneliness, so the internet can, stop bullying her over what she did in the fourth movie. And making Jessie the lead definitely makes this story feel distinct from the others. And I'm mature enough to admit that Toy Story is still a tearjerker franchise without needing to bring back Andy to take his toys away. The focus they gave on Jessie's relationship with Emily and now Blaze was my favorite part of the whole thing. That proves that they don't need to ignore the backstories from the other films in order to make a new one, making the whole thing click together nicely. And to prove to you how long I've loved Toy Story, here's my collection of toys I actually played with for years. Then I kept them in storage until I decided to go back and get a few I was missing growing up. That was in 2022. And this is also to not use too much copyright material, so bear with me if the toys are very used. Again, they've been in storage since 2022. So here's the part where I talk about my childhood hero, Woody. He kind of shows up and leaves at the end, and that's where my negatives start. Toy Story has always been about Woody, especially the fourth one. So it does feel off to have Woody be a supporting character instead of the protagonist. And even if the movie makes his bald spot and age a running gag, it's true, the cast is getting older, and even if they do a great job, you can feel the age in the toys. Something that, even if for the audience it means the characters age with us, it also gives me a bit of an existential crisis over knowing that the toys will not be played with forever. I get that with a large cast of characters, you either sideline them as a unit, or try to throw them all together until no one has a character arc Ice Age style, and even if the plot justifies the lack of participation from the other toys, with the RV in the 4th, and the garage in the 5th, it's still sad to have characters like Rex, Ham, or the Potato Heads become background characters who don't even leave the room. Also, they pull in anxiety on us by making Lilypad sympathetic. It's not something I'm upset about, since it would have been worse to make Tech evil and have the toys, I don't know, smash Lilypad with a hammer and alert the parents to get Bonnie in trouble. But you can also see the thin line between explaining that screens are addictive and can shorten kids' attention spans, while also showing that Tech can connect people like never before. And even if Pixar handled it well, in my opinion, the script feels a bit cluttered due to the subplots, mainly the 50 high-tech Buzz Lightyears. I liked them, they made everyone in the audience laugh, but they do feel a bit thrown into the story and don't really serve much of a purpose other than repeating the Buzz doesn't know he's a toy gag, and helping out in the climax, and making me want to buy 50 Buzz Lightyears army build as if they were clone troopers. And I know what's more ironic, a toy based on the device that's supposed to replace toys, or toys based on humans who own the toys. I'll use this last image to talk about Blaze, since she might be my favorite human character so far. I thought she would be limited to being Jesse's new owner, and I can't talk spoilers since the movie's been out for a month now. I like how this one focuses on how the humans feel and how it impacts the toys, since it's always been about how the humans make the toys feel, which, yeah, it's the point of the toys that are secretly alive, but I like the realistic approach to loneliness as something you can't just solve by trying to distract yourself with social media. And going back to the first question, why do these sequels make so much money and get so much hate online? It's simple. Families cannot afford to go watch every movie, so choices need to be made. And if the parents grew up on Toy Story and want to share with their kids, that's great. You have no idea how happy I am to see this franchise raise generations, but it does reveal how, to fit into the industry, you need to be a part of a massive franchise or make an original movie that's so good it gets people excited or emotional, becomes important in pop culture. So, those are my thoughts on Toy Story 5 and all the circumstances behind its existence. I totally recommend it. It's still in theaters by the time I'm recording this, but keep this in mind. If you really want more original movies, support both equally. Let's not ignore original movies just to keep complaining about sequels online. Only that way can sequels and new ideas coexist. And that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on Toy Story 5. And what are your positives and negatives? See you in the next video.
I have to make up an excuse to leave this party without anyone noticing. Bye.